Hello everyone, I am here today with a new video, and today's is a flip through. I'm doing day one of Montreal. And actually, to start out with, I actually went back to the last layout that I had for Quebec City and I added something. So if you saw the end of that video, you're getting something a little extra here, because when I was flipping through, I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot one of the pictures I had and that I wanted to show from while we were eating. So we're actually starting with this last thing here. So you can see this was our view. That's really all I wanted in there, is because here we are sitting, on this plaza or on this square. This is what we're looking at. It looks like old world Europe, but it's Quebec City. So I wanted to make sure I got that in there. And on the back side, I just talked about our meal and then having to get back because we were taking our train to Montreal that left at 5:45. So I included this 4x6 card that left me a lot of journaling room. I like that it was sort of on the go, en route, travel themed. It worked well. Then we got to our Airbnb in Montreal late that night. So I wanted to showcase that here. These pictures were actually taken in the morning. You can tell like it's much lighter and everything. But I wanted to include our Airbnb here. So technically we're still on the 9th, but we're in Montreal. So I just talked about that a little bit. And then there is the rest of it. This was on the wall, and I thought, how perfect for me, a world traveler. Like, I love seeing that. It really sold the place for me, in addition to that fun spiral staircase. It was a cool place to be able to stay. Okay, so now we can actually move on to the first full day in Montreal. So that's what I have here. So I'm starting with breakfast. I'm not a huge breakfast person normally, but we knew we were going to be out walking a lot. We had a ton on our list of what we wanted to see, and we just didn't know when we were going to stop for lunch. So I thought, you know what? I need coffee anyway. I'll just grab a little something, and I got this stupendous pistachio croissant. Oh my gosh, like life-changing. And we got it from Cafe Olympico. So if you are in Old Montreal, that's where this one was, stop in there, get one of these if you like pistachio. It's for you. You'll love it. So once we had that, my friend got something too. She is not a coffee drinker, but she did get a snack. So once we had finished that, we were on our way. And this was like literally like right next door, this little alleyway. It was so beautiful that I had to stop and take a picture. And really, there is stuff like this all around Montreal, particularly in Old Montreal. And this is part of why we chose to stay there. When we were researching it, we knew that's the area we wanted to be, because we wanted that old world vibe. This kind of thing is very common. So if that aesthetically works for you, go to Old Montreal. And I wanted to keep it simple, so I just did a little stamping here. I used a very simple black and white card. I did choose to put on a phrase strip to try to match the sidewalk here, or the alleyway a little bit. And I just used a red rhinestone to bring out this. As you can see, our next stop was yet another church. This one is the Basilica of Notre Dame of Montreal. So I chose to keep this whole thing in there because I wanted it to be able to fold all the way out so I could read all of the different things, see some of the fun stuff on the inside aside from my photos. So I kept the whole thing. And sometimes I will put something on the back. I chose not to on this one just because I like the fact that, here at the front it's in English, in the back it's in French. I just liked the difference, so I kept it the way it was. And then here we are in the Basilica. Very, very ornate, and there are very kind of separated parts. Side chapels, interesting things at different levels, kind of front and back, side to side, all that. So if you're going to go, you really need to allot some time. I think we spent, I'm going to say maybe 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, we really started kind of at the entrance and took our slow time going all the way around and seeing all the nooks and crannies. And I recommend you do that if you have the time. I will say there is a fee for this one. A lot of the churches, basilicas, cathedrals we went into, there was no fee. We did have one in Ottawa, but that's because we chose to take the tour. Going into the church itself, there was no fee. Here, you can't even get in without paying the fee. That's part of how they maintain it. So just be aware of that if you choose to go. For this layout, I wanted to have a nice mix of this blue color plus red, because both were occurring quite a bit in the photos that I had. That's partly why I chose to keep these away from each other. They're opposite corners, so it didn't overwhelm the photos, and I think that worked out really well. And again, I went relatively simple here. I did some stamping on both of them. I had a little sticker in one of my Mambi sticker books that was a lot of planning stuff, and so there's a bunch of stickers that say today. That works out well, so I just slapped that on there because it was red, found this, and then it's hard to see here maybe, but I do have some gold splattering on there because there was definitely gold happening in the background. So I just want to make sure that that all came together. I had to shift the album over a little bit because this is actually a full flip out that becomes 12 by 12. I don't do these often. In fact, I think maybe I've only done one before because it does get quite large, but I needed it for this. I had so many photos from inside here. I needed 12 by 12 space. So you can see tons of pictures. Again, this was a color I was trying to match because it appeared in lots of places. Figured why not? But I also went with gold because that also appears in a lot of places. And because everything was so busy, I wanted to keep it simple, of course. So I chose to just do 3 phrase strips on each pocket card. So there's 1, 2, 3, and these are all from the same set. They all came on the same sheet. I just got lucky that all the colors matched with what I had. I did put 1 extra here just because I felt like it was heavily weighted towards the pockets and I wanted at least 1 photo that had something. And there was some dead space there. It didn't detract from the photo, so I stuck it there. But that's really all I had to do for this one. So it came together quite nicely. For this layout, we're obviously still in the Basilica, but look at those stunning colors. I wanted to highlight that shade of green. And it's kind of misleading. It depends on the lighting. It looks more green here. In other photos, like over here, it looks more blue. It really depends on the angle and the lighting and time of day and all of that. So what you experience when you go might feel a little different, and that's okay. I think it's meant to be that way. But here the green definitely came out, so I wanted to find something that matched, and this card matched perfectly. And in full transparency, when I'm recording this, it's the end of May. This set had just come out. It's from In a Creative Bubble. She does travel collections periodically. She announced she was going to release one on May 23rd. I went out and bought pretty much everything that was in it. So that's where that card came from. And also, full disclosure, the reason I'm doing these ahead too and stockpiling a lot more is because I'm having surgery again this summer. I had one last summer. I'm having another one this summer. So I'm going to be down for about 5 to 6 weeks. So I figured I better get some videos done and have them ready to go. And it was a great opportunity to get Canada finished so that I would have it done and have something to show for it. On this side, I chose to do a 4x8 insert. My friend took this photo of me. I'm not in love with this photo of me, but I'm trying to get myself in there more. And so I was like, you know what? The background is so beautiful. I'll take it. I just did a phrase strip, piece of this foiled chipboard, called it good. And on the back, I have this open space. And at first I thought, oh, I'll do this one and put it here as a 4x8. But I didn't want to cut down anything. I loved the angle of this. I loved what you could see on the sides. So I didn't want to cut it down. So I had to find a filler for this. Actually, this worked out well. Look at the colors. Like, it could not be more perfect because there actually is a little bit of purple happening. And then these are perfect for this ceiling. And then I also just got lucky. I had background paper that was very close. Clearly, I couldn't like put this right on there. I had to break it up in some way. Otherwise, it would have been too much. But I think this gold striped washi perfectly fit the bill. Very happy with it. And then I actually had a 3x4 card that had these tags on it, like going in opposite directions. That's not the type of journal card I would use on its own normally. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut that apart and I'll use what's there. So that's what I did. So I cut each of these, and then this one I wanted to hang off the top, but I saved the end, put it down here. I did matching lavender rhinestones, and that was all it needed. And now here we are finally at the last layout for the Basilica. Again, just some beautiful, beautiful shots, more close up, honing in on that ceiling, trying to get the organ in there. And then the top of this was just spectacular. So I wanted to include that, and even the glass right here. So lovely. So I wanted to get all of those in there. And then I happened to notice, hey, this one's actually a little bit of a brighter blue, more of a royal blue showing in some places. I'm going to use that. I had this paper, and at first I thought it was going to be too busy with the polka dots. Again, by breaking it up, I think it came out okay. And I tried to keep everything else minimal, so a couple of phrases, my gold star stickers there, and that was enough. When we left the Basilica, we knew we were going to be passing through some areas of town that would have beautiful buildings, and so we're like, you know what, we're just going to meander. We're going to look at the architecture, the fountains, whatever's there, and then we'll make our way to Chinatown. So this was along our way. I believe this used to be a bank of some time, or of some kind. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. And the facade of it was just so beautiful, and then there was this fountain very close to it. So took a couple of shots of that, and again, it was pretty busy. And I have kind of a wild background here, so I kept it minimal with what I added, and I just got lucky that I had colors that matched really well with a lot of these neutrals here, and then this blue. So I didn't have to do a whole lot, which is great. Then we were on to Chinatown, which was completely different from what we just saw, where it was a lot of neutrals, sort of drab colors. This was like every color of the rainbow, very bright, lots happening. So I wanted to showcase that, plus the Asian theme, of course. And I got lucky that I had some things in my stash. I go to a lot of like Asian gardens, and I've been to multiple Chinatowns in multiple cities. So I do have some things in my stash, luckily. So was able to work those in here. I even had this from the digital Canadian set that I bought. There was a Chinatown in there, so I used that. How appropriate. And then I just mixed in some of the other things I had on hand. I loved these cranes. Those are an old Cocoa Daisy kit that I've had for a long time. I think it's been at least 3 or 4 years, and they just haven't fit right with anything. But here, the color scheme worked really well. So happy to finally get those out of my stash, and I think they look good. Another part that I liked was as we were leaving Chinatown, going into a different area, they had all these murals that we happened upon. And I just loved the style of them. Like this one, I think, was actually right on the edge of Chinatown. And then these were as we were going elsewhere. But just these bright, beautiful designs with all these bold colors. And I had this card and had struggled to use it. I pulled it out for several projects. I'm like, no, it's too busy. There are too many colors. Do I want hearts? I always found a reason not to use it. Here, I felt like it worked so well with all of these colors and the brightness of the area that I had to use it. And so I took that, and all I did was take those tiny little stickers that say murals, and that was it. Then it was on to yet another church. We saw a lot of churches on this trip. Here's another one. This is Notre Dame de Lourdes Chapel, I believe. And when I was working on a couple layouts, I thought this chapel was something else. It was a different chapel we saw later. I almost wrote the wrong thing, but luckily I caught it. This one is the right one, and I did that as a 4x8. And then I have my photo that's opposite here because I wanted something else. I didn't want to put a journaling card there. I knew that I wanted a smaller area, so that's why I have this. And I think it worked out well to use that one. And I loved these soft colors, this sort of buttercream yellow and the soft green, little bit of blue worked in, like barely tinted. And in a way, we lucked out that there was a service going on. So we could only see from the back of the church looking in. And that's okay, because we've seen so many churches. And really, I feel like being able to see all of this was enough. Once we left there, we were out in the neighborhood again, so I just have some random shots around. I loved these houses, loved the cool staircases, though in winter I was like, that might be a challenge when winter comes. It gets cold up there and there's a lot of snow, but fun to see them. And then I had this piece of ephemera. I don't even remember where I got it. I think it was from one of the in a Creative Bubble kits where you get cards and elements, but I thought it worked nicely with all the different color buildings we saw. So I slapped that on there. A little bit of stamping, that's it. Like, it didn't need a whole lot, and I'm grateful for that. By that point, we had done a lot of walking, and it was late lunch. We were running like past 1 o'clock, I believe. So we decided to grab one of the next places we saw, and we were heading towards the water, and we saw this place called Brewski. We're like, you know what? Perfect. Pretty simple menu, but it's all stuff we would do. We'll have a couple of drinks, we'll relax, and then we'll be on our way again. And it turned out to be like super cool inside. We really enjoyed it. I just had kind of a smaller meal to tide me over for later, and it was more than enough. It actually really turned out to be a full meal. It was quite filling. But I loved the decor. I loved the yellow and green that were in there, so I tried to work with that when I was designing the page. I had these puffy stickers on hand, so that was super easy to choose that. And then I had this card with the drink that actually had the bubble ready to go for journaling, and so how could I not use it? Then we walked down by the water since we were so close, so we got to see the clock tower area and some things related to military efforts by Canada. That was cool to see. It was very easy to put this together because it was basically like 3 colors, gray, red, blue. So that worked out well. And then over here, another church, Bon Secours, I think is how you say that, or something close to that. So again, I had clearly gray and red happening. And so I thought, all right, I'm going to make that work. So I found some enamel dots. I had this little piece of ephemera label that I could use just enough room to fit that in there. And I did these as a collage like ahead of time, trying to kind of save space and make sure I only had one layout for the exterior of this. And I think that worked out well. And over here, I really restricted myself. I allowed myself one photo collage of the inside. And I told myself, whatever you're going to use, it has to fit on this. This was the way I chose to go. So really, I only have 4 photos here, an enlarged one, obviously. Dropped in some digital paper, had a foiled sticker of a cross. I have plenty of those. Again, enamel dots to match. And that was it for that church. So after that, we were again kind of just like walking around the area, seeing what else there was to see. And we came upon this. And we thought, okay, we're not going to pay the fee to go inside, because I think it was more than $20, maybe $18, $20. We're like, you know what? That's not worth it to us. Like, we don't care enough for what this is about, but we'll walk the grounds because they were lovely. So we did that, and all the tulips were up, and they had just beautiful colors going against the backdrop of the chateau there. So we're like, okay, we'll do that. So we just took a couple pictures there. I found a horizontal card, which is sometimes hard to do, but I found one that worked. Just put the little heart on it there, and that was enough. And then that was kind of the end of our main day. We knew we had a break because we had a tour at 7:30 that night. We were doing an evening tour. So we knew we had a little break where we could go back to the Airbnb, freshen up, maybe go out for a drink or something, and then our tour. And we did end up going out for a drink. And so I did feature that as well. I loved the color of the drink I chose. It was called Summer Passion. And I happen to have these stickers left from a drink set. This is an old card from I think it's from a club scrap kit from years and years ago, but I loved the color, so I kept it. So it just ended up working out really well. So these are the last 2 layouts I'm actually going to show you from day 1. It's not the end of day 1. It's just what I'm kind of showing you from day 1, because there's a lot more. Our tour went on until like 11 o'clock at night. And then we did less the next day because our flight left in the evening. So there's less to show for day 2. So I'm combining them a little bit. But here was our first stop on our tour. So I journaled quite a bit about that, about our guide and where we're going. And then here's a view of yet another church that was the first stop for us. And then I actually have a layout that goes in between, but I was missing something, so I couldn't finish it. So I'll come back to that if I remember in the next flip through, but for now I have to skip over it. That's my fault for not getting things ordered in time. But then we had a bagel stop, because there's a difference between like New York bagels and Montreal bagels. And I was like, how big is this difference? Am I really going to notice? Yes, you actually do notice. They are very different from the taste of New York bagels. Montreal bagels are sweeter. And I feel like when you bite into it, it's softer on the inside. So if you're a bagel connoisseur, definitely try a Montreal bagel when you're there. And then this was our stop. It's just a little like mom and pop place. It was dark, so it looked very nondescript to me, but oh my God, was it good. So I chose an everything bagel, which there they call all dressed. So I had an all dressed bagel with cream cheese. It sounds simple, and it was, but it was so, so good. So I wrote about it here, took some pictures inside the shop while they were working. You could actually see them baking stuff, and just threw in some basic cards. So for now, that's all I'm going to show for day one in Montreal. But that's a lot. I hope you've seen enough and it was fun for you and that you will want to come back for part 2. Thanks for watching.